أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. We are discussing since some time the topic of taqwa. Yesterday we had discussed cognition. Just to reconnect, I'll expose only one slide that where we left the discussion. We had defined that cognition is a mental process of acquiring knowledge. It was through this process that Adam alayhi salam was through these features, the features relating to cognition, that Adam alayhi salam was provided the knowledge, Allama Adama Asma Kullaha, and their understanding. Ilm, when it says Allama Adam, it does not mean that only the knowledge was downloaded into his brain, but besides providing knowledge, he was provided the understanding. And besides providing understanding, knowledge and understanding, he was already fitted with various features. Those features of thinking, which further include so many other sub-features like aql, fikr, and so many other features, then thinking, experiencing, and sensing. We had discussed a little bit yesterday. And cognition involves so many other aspects in this process. So we had referred to this list, which is not very exhaustive, but some of them. But the whole purpose why Adam alayhi salam was provided knowledge, and not only that Asma, he was provided Allama Adam Asma. The sentence does not end there. He was provided the kullun, the kulliyatan, the depth and the breadth and the details, all the kulliyatan of all the packages of information. Ism is a package of information. But why all these were provided? These were provided so that Adam will now on this planet solve his problems on his own till the last day of judgment. He will generate and regenerate knowledge. He will improve his understanding, and he will apply that understanding through all these features which were given to him for the solution of his problems. This was the purpose, that he will manage this planet. There were other animals, millions of types of animals on the planet, but they don't have the capacity to manage the planet. They don't have the capacity to organize or achieve or retrieve things outside the planet, in the solar system, or in any other corner of the universe. Now, this was the background which we discussed yesterday. Now, we had reached the stage where we now want to discuss the metacognition. This was cognition. Some people translate it as shaur, and I had shown some ayat yesterday. Some people translate it as idrak. So that is why I always emphasize that we should discuss from Quran, from the word of Quran. But since we have difficulties in translation, so we are in fact discussing or trying to interpret the translated words. So after cognition, above cognition, beyond cognition is the concept of metacognition. What is metacognition? I'm not talking about tasawwuf. It's not tasawwuf, not at all. It's not tasawwuf. It's something related to the features, physical features which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided to Adam, to Bani Adam. And this cognition is the higher level that is called metacognition. What it is? Metacognition is the awareness of one's own thought process. Understanding or having the idea, having the perception, awareness of one's own thinking process. What is that? For example, we don't know most of the time. I'm emphasizing most of the time we don't know whether we are being driven by the Saturn. Saturn does not hold our hand to do something. He's like a hacker, as explained in Quran. He works from a distance. We can't see him. Shaitan. Quran tells us that we can't see him. He is Shaitan. That is why he's called Shaitan. But it has access to our brain. It has access to our thought process, to our thinking process of our thinking. So most of the time we don't understand whether we are being driven by the Satan, by the hacker, whether we have a virus in our software, which is working in our mind, and we are being misdriven by that process. We don't know. But those people who have this metacognition, they not only have the understanding, knowledge and understanding of the things around them, but they also think within themselves. Fi nafsika, in your own nafs, in your own mind. They know their own mind. What is the disturbance? What is the agitation caused? What has agitation caused within the mind? And the Quran tells us that whenever any such thing happens, for example, there is shuhan nafs from within, or there's a shuhan nafs because of the stimulus from outside. There's an invitation from outside. And there's something occurring in the mind. One is distracted. In the thought process, in metacognition, we are talking about the thought process. The Quran tells us that that person immediately opens his eyes. What does that mean? That he tries to understand that what has happened. Why this shuhan nafs? Why this stimulation has taken place? Is there any extraneous factor, or there is any internal factor within my mind which has given me that direction or driven me in that direction? He becomes aware of his own thought process. He opens his own eyes. He stops. This is a state of metacognition. Metacognition, this is a great gift of God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells about Isa alayhi salam, that I strengthened him, ayyadna biruhim minna, biruhil quds. I strengthened him with a command from me, from the software from me. What is ruh? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself defined it. Yasalunaka anir ruh. They ask you what is ruh, and we have personified it, but the Quran has explained it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself initiated the question. Yasalunaka, they are asking you regarding ruh. Yasalunaka anir ruh. Kul, tell them, ar-ruh min amri rabbi. Ruh is from the command of Allah. Amri rabbi. That is the command of Allah. As the command works in the software, it is a command of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when this installs this command, ruh, the process is called nafakh. As you install a jewel or a diamond in your ring, in your ornament, that process is called nafakh. So after 12 weeks, after 16 weeks, in the embryo, when the ruh is nafakh, when the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is installed, that becomes human being, and it starts growing as human being. Enough. So metacognition is a process of awareness of what one thinks himself, and that level is strengthened by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided a strong, strengthened, re-strengthened capability and capacity of thinking into one's own thought process. Most of the time, we think, but we don't know what we are thinking. We are not aware of thinking. And we are driven basically by the nafs, by the Satan, in a direction. It takes control of the mind. He gives the command, Amara. He gives the command, and we are driven in that direction. And basically, if such a situation takes place, then that person is not in the state of metacognition, not even maybe in the state of cognition. If one is not in the state of cognition, then there is no difference between a living man and a dead man, a person thinking and not thinking, a zombie and an active person. And Quran has given this comparison all along. What is the difference between those who think and who don't think? They are not equal. What is the difference between a human being and an animal? They are not equal. And the major difference lies in the thinking process. And this is the thinking process which uses other features connected with cognition, which you have seen, the long list. We are missing that. We are missing most of the features because we have dumped them in our socialization process, in the process of our brought up right from the mother's lap, in the society, in the classroom. We have ignored that. We don't develop it. Metacognition is awareness of one's thought process and understanding the patterns behind them. What is the reason that why I am thinking like this? What is the reason that I have got the shuhan nafs? What is the reason that I am committing a wrong thing and I continue to commit the wrong thing? And even though I know this is wrong, theft is wrong, telling a lie is wrong, committing a sin is wrong, but still I continue. I continue because a certain thought process, pattern of thought process, a pattern has developed in my mind, which Quran calls, and it has given different names. It has identified different types of diseases of mind. Maraz al-Qalb. There are different types of diseases of the mind, which we translate as qalb. Here it is mind. So when it takes over the thought process itself, we lose the capability of awareness of our own thought process. And once we lose it, it means we lose the capacity of understanding our own thought process. This is the difference between the cognition and the metacognition, that metacognition is the awareness of one's own thought process and understanding the reason working behind that pattern, why it has developed, that my heart has hardened. Ron calls it that the heart is hardened, that I don't differentiate between sin and the good, the wrong and the good and the bad. I don't differentiate. Cognitive studies, there are sciences, there are researches, there are studies, there are subjects which are taught. Research is taking place. But do we know, when we teach Quran, when we discuss these things like TAQWA, do we know that these ulum are there and people are working on that? They get degrees. They get masters, they do PhD, they conduct research in that. There is a whole subject on cognition, on metacognition, on their processes and their patterns of mind, how the nerves work. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَّا سَوَاهَا. What is that which controls your nafsiyat, your philosophy, your psychology? The ayat there is inviting attention that have you studied what is that which balances your psyche, which improves your shakhsiyat, your personality, which enhances your persona. But we have translated just one thing, nafs, without understanding it, and we just keep on harping on that without understanding what is the meaning of nafs at each place. And what is in Quran, at each place, in each ayat, what is the meaning? And what is the difference between nafs and anfus? Nufusakum and anfusakum. Fi nafsika. What is the difference in these statements? How the meaning of the word, the shade of meaning, the shade of meaning of the word changes. Meaning of nafs changes. Cognitive studies examine function and capacity of human attention, memory, and retrieval. What Quran is telling us about cognition, about idrak. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wama adrak? Are you attentive? Did you hear this? Do you understand this? Do you have the idrak? The starting point of cognition, idrak, is the attention. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you are not attentive, don't talk to me. Don't come to me. When I am talking, when my Quran is recited, keep quiet. Give attention. Give your ear. And then whatever is being told, do we commit it to memory? Even our Hufaz, they are memorizing Quran, but do they understand? If we give attention to what? Just merely the word, its meaning, the message it carries. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do this. And if I'm attentive, I'll remember this. I'll commit it to memory. What was the first problem which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing out in the lesson which He has given in the Quran? Adam and his Zoja. We don't know what were they doing. Where was their attention? Were they fighting? Quarreling in the Jannat? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is first of all getting their attention. Ya Adam, oh Adam, give me attention, give me your ear. This is the first call to be attentive. The first call of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Adam after his creation, after his upgradation and placement in Jannat. The first call is, Ya Adam, give attention. Be attentive. Listen to me. This is the call. Ya Adam. And then the second point in that lesson towards its conclusion is that why Adam committed the mistake and his Zoja, why they committed the mistake? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is exonerating them. Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. He's exonerating them and telling us the reason, the psyche, so that we should understand it. We should be careful in our studies, in our own brought up of our children, in the building up of our own society. First of all, when he was asked to give attention, he did not commit it to his memory strongly. And the statement, the conclusion, the course of the history of Adam in Jannat shows that he forgot it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells himself, Nasa. When he exonerates Adam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he forgot it. The point on which his attention was sought. Every day, whenever our attention is sought on Quran, any point in Quran, we don't commit it to memory. And we have been not only that once Adam was told, Ya Adam, his attention was sought, but continuously throughout the whole train of prophets which came, in the whole series of prophets who came, there is a retrieval of this message with the word Ikra. Now you have forgotten. Now I have sent you a message. Message recited in word, verbal. Committed to writing, Quran, reading. Ikra, read it. If you have forgotten, read it. Although the information was already there, Torah was there, Injil was there, Allah's message was there, Sof were there. But since we had forgotten, Allah collected whole thing, collated whole thing, compiled whole thing, and gave us as a Quran and says, read it. If you have forgotten, read it. Give attention when it is being read. These are different parts of aspects of psychology, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. And this deals with adra, cognition, attention, memory, and retrieval. Retrieval is zikr, that we can retrieve through the process of thinking, through the process of tadabbur, we can retrieve, even if there is no book, there is no book written in ABC or Alif Bata, if it is not written in that, in any script, in any script, still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the capacity to read and to retrieve what is written in the universe, how to interpret it. And when Ibrahim alayhi salam paid attention to the arrangement in the universe, he retrieved those things. He tried to interpret those things. He used the process of zikr. Why the moon is like this? Why the sun is bigger and brighter? Process of thinking. Through the process of thinking, we retrieve the information which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already embedded, has already installed, and that comes to us through DNA. We have all the information which Adam alayhi salam was provided. And all this information is being conveyed from generation to generation, from person to person, from gene to gene, from chromosome to chromosome. This process of retrieval we have misapplied. It's not muraqabah. It's not just saying on tasweer. Zikr Ibrahim is not saying Ibrahim, Ibrahim, Ibrahim. Zikr Zakaria is not saying Zakaria, Zakaria, Zakaria. It is retrieving the knowledge, the history, the lesson which pertains to Zakaria, to Ibrahim. Retrieval, zikr, is the retrieval of the knowledge which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided about himself. Allama Adam asma kullaha, all the things in the universe. His own asma and the asma of everything, and their kulliyatan, their kullun. This process is connected, interconnected, and this all goes to make cognition. Now, in this connection, we have also referred to awareness. Here, we use the word that metacognition is the awareness of one's thought process. So what is awareness? To know oneself, to have knowledge of anything, be aware of something. What is awareness? Awareness is the state of being conscious of the other. We have discussed this earlier also. What is consciousness? Consciousness is to know oneself, to understand oneself, to recognize oneself. Elephants in the animal world, elephants recognize themselves in the mirror, but not all animals. This capacity of recognition is not an ordinary thing. How we stand before the mirror, how we make up. Awareness of oneself and awareness of the other. I'm not all. And Quran asks us, do they think that they are everything? They are themselves, they are all in all, they are on their own? Don't they know that they were nothing? They have been created. And don't they know that this shay will perish? Fana, they will come back to me, and they are in the process of coming back. Yarjun. So knowing oneself and knowing the other. When we say knowing the other, then it has different aspects. Knowing the world view, how the world is operating. Amantu billah, that he is a creator. Wa malaikatihi, he is managing the universe with his forces, with his malaika. This is the world view. Nobody is granting any risk or anything, or children or sons or daughters to anybody from the grave. Nobody else has the authority. Shirk is the greatest negation of the worldview. Amantu billahi wa malaikatihi. Awareness is the state of being conscious of oneself. When we say oneself, at the same time aware of the other. And when we say other, this ultimately brings us to the highest level of a question. Knowing the other, knowing my environment, knowing the sun and the moon like Ibrahim alayhi salam, knowing the solar system, knowing the universe, and that ultimately led Ibrahim alayhi salam to the one, the only one, who is behind all this creation, who is behind all this management, who is that other who created me. He created me. I'm not on my own. I'm dependent on him. He is Samad. He is Samad. He is Qayyum. He is self-subsisting. Qayyum. He is self-subsisting. He is Samad. Everything, Yarjun, everything ultimately goes to him, submits to him. So this awareness of the other, who is Samad, who is eternal, is part of TAQWA. This is part of consciousness. Awareness is just one element of consciousness, which is element of cognition. And cognition, along with intelligence and consciousness, they all combine together to form taqwa. Taqwa of God. When we say consciousness of God, then it combines all these elements. But saying just consciousness in psychology, maybe we are talking of consciousness of the environment, of something else. But when we say taqwa of God, haqqa tuqatihi, then it combines all these features and faculties, all these capacities and abilities to form taqwa of Allah. And that refers to the haqqa tuqatihi. If you want to have discharge the haqq of tuqatihi, then it's with all attention, with all awareness, with all consciousness, with all piety, with all awe of God, all these factors combined together, cognition and intelligence combined together, they completely, perfectly, when they are combined, they only can move towards perfection of performing the haqq tuqatihi. Otherwise, we are not doing haqq tuqatihi. Sometimes we pay attention, even in namaz, and then just for a little fraction of a second, we pay attention and then we lose it. That is not haqq tuqatihi. We don't have the awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have the ihsan. We don't have the perception that we are standing before God. Otherwise, we can't lose our attention. We lose attention. At that time, we lose attention because we lose the haqqa tuqatihi. And haqqa tuqatihi cannot be complete without memory all the time. Adam lost it. But at the same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided the capacity of zikr at least 5 times a day. Just go into your own self, in your own mood, in your own nafs. Switch on the process of thinking. Switch on the process of tafakkur. Switch on the process of tadabbur. And you will start retrieving. That is how the prophets did. That is what with Prophet peace be upon him, he started in Hira. And while living in this world, this has to be done. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us very clearly that his prophets were grown up in the villages, in the towns, in the cities, among the people. They went to the bazaar. They ate food. They were human beings. They did all these functions. They lived with the people to know them, to understand them, to know their problems in order to solve them. Fit dunya, Hasan, fit dunya. It is to be done here. After fit dunya, we don't have the capacity of idrak. We don't have intelligence. We are dead. That is the difference. When these resources are given to us, when these resources are available to us, these resources are available in this world only. Intelligence is available only in this world. Cognition is available only in this world. And we have to utilize them. We have to use them. Fit dunya, for hasana. And through this will come the hasana of the akhirah, the next phase, and which is a longer phase, much longer phase, very long phase, the phase of existence. But we ignore that. We have ignored fit dunya. We don't work on that. We don't want to understand it. We don't want to read it. We don't want to study it. We don't want to listen to it. That he is wasting our time. We just listen for sawab, that's all. Not for hasan. We are not listening for hasan. We are not doing for hasan. Hasan is not just living, existing in the world. It is living and existing in the world. Hasan. Hasan. We have ignored, we have deleted the word hasan. Just fit dunya. Some people only fit dunya. And some people, everything deleted here. Just only for akhirah. Extremes. On all sides, extremes. Awareness is an ability to directly know, perceive, and feel the process which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has explained in the experience of Ibrahim alayhi salam and many other prophets, and in our own prophet also, of or to be cognizant of, that we are cognizant of the situation. Ibrahim alayhi salam, they directly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this ability, but we don't use that. Ibrahim alayhi salam used it directly, but we don't use it. Okay, we didn't use it, but now Allah has given us the book. We read it. He asked us to read it. Ikra. Do we read it? Okay, we read it. But do we understand it? If we understand it, do we go into the word of Quran? We fight on the translations. We fight on the practices which are established as rituals by some people, and we follow them. That's all. We don't ourselves unfold the Quran itself, unfold its surah, unfold its ayat, and within that unfold the package. Ism is the package of information. To open the package of information which is provided, which is packed in that word of God, triliteral root of the word of Quran. It is package of information if we can unfold it. And when we unfold it, all these things are there. But we don't unfold it. What we unfold only the one translated meaning given by someone, and the ritual established on that translated word, we follow that. That's all. And if we have any difficulty, we go to somebody for fatwa, and he says this is the day, we say day. It's the night, we say it's a night. Directly, everybody has been given a DNA. Directly, everybody has been given the faculties of mind. Everybody has been given sadr. Everybody has been given qalb. Everybody has been given fuad. Everybody has been given, depending upon situations, the ports to take data through senses. Sama, basar, for example. Ibrahim used that, and it was through those faculties that he came to know, and he came to perceive. He went ahead, and he came to feel. What are these three things? The knowing is knowledge. Perceiving is something higher that one perceives. For example, in ihsan, the Prophet says that when you perceive that you are seeing God, or you can't see, then God is seeing you. This is perception. Ihsan is perception. And then feeling. This is feeling fit dunya. Feeling the physical things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided in this world. Knowing them, working on them, working with them fit dunya. If we don't have the feeling, we don't have the five senses, we cannot work. We cannot make anything. We cannot make any progress. We cannot work on science. We cannot drive without feeling, without the faculties, the senses, and not only the five senses, but even beyond that, the sixth sense, the sensory perception, extrasensory perception, ESP, and even the reflexes. Or to be cognizant of what? You can be cognizant of the world. You can be cognizant of dunya when you are fit dunya, when you are taken up. On the day of judgment, Isa alayhi salam, when he's put a question by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran tells us that, Isa, did you tell them, to your followers, to do this? He said, you had taken me up. I was not there. How would I know? So all these processes are only and only for this world. Why? Because as long as these five senses, they work together, and they work together with other capabilities in a body, as long as that is alive, as long as those features are working, as long as those senses are working, one can take cognizance of this world. One can take cognizance of the sun and the moon, the day and the night. How, if you are not cognizant whether the sun has risen or not, what would we know? This is what we have done. Wal Fajr Kana Mashuda. You go to our Muslim countries, go to Saudi Arabia, go to Pakistan, go to other countries, most of the Muslim countries. When the people get up in the morning, when they open their bazaar, when they go to their shops, is it related to Fajr? Do we observe Fajr? Wal Fajr Kana Mashuda. We have changed the circadian calendar of our body. Our circadian calendar, naturally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has synchronized with the solar system. Even the digestive system is synchronized with the solar system. Why 5 times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is linked with the timing of the sun and the moon? Why the Ramzan and other months have linked with the lunar system? Why solar and lunar systems are linked? Why attention all the time being invited? Where is the sun standing now? Where is the shadow standing now? And for this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us features to be cognizant in this world. But we don't care. We are working against it. We don't want to be cognizant. We don't want to be cognizant of the world, the laws of nature, sunnat Allah. We don't want to see the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala working in nature. That is ibadat. That is zikr. That is what Quran has told us. If we want to be cognizant of this world, in other words, if we want to exist and live fit dunya, then we have to work for hasana. Not just existing, not just living. Hasana. And hasana is according to the laws of nature, according to sunnat Allah, according to the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to the obedience to the laws of nature, laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not in disobedience. If my gene works in disobedience, that becomes cancer because it does not follow the laws of nature. If we want to work properly, then we have to work according to the laws of nature. And laws of nature, with the laws of nature, our body has been synchronized. Even our digestive system has been synchronized. Our circadian calendar of the body has been synchronized. In Surah Kahf, we just read it. Two professors, Kanopka and Michael Young, two separate researchers, professors in two different universities. They don't know each other. Then when the research was published, after that, it came together. But still they don't know Quran. They have not researched on Kahf, Surah Kahf. It was our duty to work on Surah Kahf. They say they found from the circadian calendar of the flies and the circadian calendar of the man, human beings and other animals, that if a man lives in a cave, a deep cave, where the sun ray, any ray of the sun does not reach, and where the sonic wave, where the sound wave does not reach, these two basic things, the body calendar, the circadian calendar will change. They lived for more than 300 years because their body calendar changed, circadian calendar changed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to tell us, gave us a hint so that we can continue research. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that when the sun was coming, by passing over that cave, Kahf, its rays were deflecting north and south. They were not coming above the cave. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about this? Today we know that the sun is flipping. We know that even the sun rays can be deflected. Why the deflection was taking place? The sun rays were being deflected so that they don't reach those people who were within the cave, so that their circadian calendar and their body calendar changes, so that the time changes, a flip of time. Or in another example, a person died in Jerusalem. Quran mentions that, tells us. And after 100 years, he was raised up, alive, but his donkey had vanished. Only the bones were there. And in that same small place, the food was still fresh. The donkey's entire flesh has vanished, corroded. Only the bones are there. And in the same place, food is fresh, and the man is raised up from the dormant state, raised to life. What does that show? And today we see that the science tells us that there are coronas of time. Like gravity comprises gravitons. Electricity comprises electrons. Similarly, they have postulated, these are scientific theories. These are theories. I'm referring to theories, trying to understand. I'm not translating. I'm just referring, trying to tie up a theory that time comprises coronas of time, flow of time. There's a concept, there's a theory of flow of time. The stream of time was different on the food which was there, which remained fresh. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the control over each corona, each stream of time, that it passed differently over the body of the donkey. And the stream of time passed separately, differently over the body of the man. Whereas in the Surah Kahf, it was a flip of time. It was flip of the rays of the sun from north to south. Allah uses these words, Junub and Shimal. This is ayat. I'm just trying to correlate. We have to go deeper into the root of the word of Quran to understand it. The ulum are there, sciences are there. We just have to read, collate, understand, try to understand. With this, I finish this today's topic. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzat amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.